Welcome back. Today we're going to be covering how to create planes in CATIA. Alright, Cat 37, so let's get started. Okay, so once again, to get to the link, right, we have the Word document. If you want to copy the link from here for planes tutorial, or if you want to go from the main tutorial site, Control Copy, or right-click Copy, copy the link. So instead of taking the shortcut, we can go the long way. And we can go to, and again, if it doesn't work for Chrome, try Edge. If that doesn't work, try Firefox or Internet Explorer. I don't know if those still exist. All right, so let's go over to Shape, hover over it. If you don't see these options, that means chances are you're not going to be able to get to them. You should be able to just hover over Shape and Design, and it'll show you the surfacing and wireframe workbenches. Okay, so we're going to go to Generative Shape Design. Generative Shape Design, right? And we can slide the window down. And we can go to Planes from here, right? There it is, Planes. And now you can also right-click Open. It'll take you straight to this window, creating planes. So that's another option. Right click Open in a different tab or window. Okay, that's another option. Okay, so we're going to be creating points. My mistake, planes. So these are all the different options. So planes, creating planes is one of the commands that I use quite a bit. There's so many options to define it. Most likely I'm not gonna go over all of them. So let's get started. Okay, so here's the cat part for planes. Okay, so I'm gonna click on it. It'll download, it'll place it in your downloads folder. Okay, now I can open. And it'll open it in CATIA, and there it is. Okay, some of these are hard to see, so let me change the color. Especially these planes. Okay, so for planes, it's edges. So edges of planes or edges of, oh, my mistake, it's lines. Edges is for edges of surfaces, my mistake. Okay, so let me make them green. And I'll make them thicker. Keep it as a continuous solid line, and okay. There they are, that's better. And the other lines, they're hard to see. Let me change the color of the other lines. Right click Properties. So I held on to the Control key when I selected all three curves here. And I'll change the color to green. Make them thicker, and okay. And there they are. Okay, so let's use the plane command. Okay, so here's the plane command. Okay, so let's go to the tutorial. Let me go to the other one. It's just a lot cleaner, as you can see, even though they both cover the creating planes. So let me close this one. I'll use this one instead. And that one comes directly from the planes link, right? So here's the planes link, which you can copy and paste in the browser and enter. All right, so let's do an offset from existing plane. Okay, that's probably the one I use the most. You can also offset from a planar surface. Even though you pick plane, you should be able to pick surface as long as it's a planar surface. Okay, so it's going to ask us to create a plane, offset from an existing plane. And we're going to use an offset of 20 millimeters. Okay, so they're asking us to use this plane. Okay, so we're going to do an offset of this plane. So let's go to plane command. Since I pre-selected this plane, it already knows, oh, you're trying to offset from this plane that you pre-selected. And I'm going to use a length of 20. It's already at 20. And preview, right? You can always reverse it if you want to go in the opposite direction, as you can see. And okay. All right, so, oh, I forgot to create my new Geoset. Okay, so let me insert a new Geoset. New Geo. Okay, there it is, my new Geoset. And I'm going to change the properties, right-click properties. Again, this is optional, you don't have to do this. Okay, so I'm going to be creating planes. So I'm going to change the color of the edges to cyan. Make it a little thicker. Okay, so the existing ones for me are green. My new ones are going to be cyan. Okay, so I can now left mouse click, hold and drag it and move it into the new Geoset. There it is. And when I deselect, click and space it, it follows the color of the Geoset, which is cyan. All right, so that's offset. Nice little trick also is you can double click on it. If you want to make changes to it, double click here or double click here. If you grab the move, the word that says move, left and mouse click and hold, you can slide it. Okay, sometimes you want to slide it to a location you're working at, like maybe you're working on at this endpoint or maybe that endpoint. So you just left mouse click and hold the move handle and voila, right? And okay. All right, so that's our first one. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so you can also reverse. We did cover reverse, and you can create multiple copies, right? So here, let's see how many copies it create. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18. Let's say 18. I may have miscounted. It's okay. We're just practicing our commands. All right, so let's go back and double click. You can make multiple copies. If you're gonna make copies, go to repeat. Okay, and let's see, hit preview. Nope, hit OK, and it should tell me how many do I want. Okay, so if you want to increase the quantity, let's say I go to 18 once again. If you use a different number, it's okay. Now it's saying, hey, do you want to create this in a different body? In other words, in a different Geoset? So it'll create a Geoset that'll hold all those planes we're creating, all 18. If you're creating a whole bunch, yes, create it in a new body. It'll insert the new the copies that we're creating in a separate Geoset just to keep it organized. And hit OK. There's that new Geoset we just talked about. It doesn't drop the original one. See, here's the original one and the new Geoset, but all the new ones it does, as you can see. And there they are. Okay, now you can always drag and drop the first one, so it doesn't place the first one, the first plane in this new Geoset, but you can always drag and drop. Bam! It's at the bottom. Okay, so hey teacher, it doesn't look right. The first one should be at the top. Should be above 18. This is 17. All right, so I can always right click and reorganize, or oh, I'm in the wrong place. Right click on the Geoset and I can move things up and down. Let's see, reorder children. There it is. That's what I was looking for. I can reorder the children in this Geoset reorder. And I can move the 17 using the arrows. I can move it up. I can move it down. The third option, you can go directly to where you want to place it. If you don't have this option, most likely you're using the basic license. You can say, hey, you know what, the 17, instead of having to go up one click at a time, I can click on this option, say, hey, I want to put it below or above 18. There it is. And okay, and there it is, new location. Not a big deal. You can, as you can see, we moved it with the others. You could have left it on its own. And we can now close this, collapse it, and it just keeps it organized. And if you want to give this a different name, hey, we'll call it Planes Geoset. Planes Geo and OK. Just a good way to stay organized. All right, so let's move on. Okay, parallel through point. Okay, so we're going to use a point and parallel to another existing plane. Okay, so I use this once in a while. So you have a point out in space and you have a plane and you want to create a second plane parallel to the existing one and make it go through a point. Okay, so I'm going to slightly deviate from the tutorial. Maybe I'm not going to pick the exact same geometry. If you want to follow the tutorial, go for it. Let's see, do I see a point? Oh, it's hard to find a point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as my reference plane. I'm going to go parallel to this plane, but I want that plane to go through this endpoint. Okay, let me click in space to deselect. Okay, so let's go plane. And we're going to go with the parallel through point, the second option. So my reference is the existing plane. And my point is this endpoint here. I misclicked, try it again, click. And as you can see, it's parallel to my reference plane. Okay, that comes in handy. And okay, there it is. So it's parallel to the reference plane and it intersects, or I should say passes through this point. Okay, that's it. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so let's go plane, normal to plane, or angled from an existing plane. So we're going to use a plane again as our reference. And we need a axis of rotation. Okay, so select a reference plane and a rotation axis. It can be a line. It can be a line in a sketch, or it can be an existing axis line. Okay, so let's go back. Do I have a line? Yes, I have a line. There it is. I think this is the one the tutorial is referring to. Okay, so this one I do use quite a bit. So if I wanted to create a plane off of this existing plane, and I want to rotate it, I need an axis to rotate about. Okay, so let's use plane again. And we're going to go with the third option, angle or normal to plane. Okay, so let's pick our axis of rotation. There it is. And our reference is the existing plane. Now watch when I increase the angle. So it's going to rotate about the axis, and the angle is based off of the reference plane. And okay. Oh, by the way, I can go normal, 90 degrees, right? That's the perpendicular option, or I can deviate from it, as you can see. Now let's go back to normal. And I can hit OK. And there it is. All right. Let's see if I remember how to change the size of the planes. If I can't figure it out in 10 seconds, I'll do it in a different video. So these planes are the planes are a little tiny. So let me go to Tools Options. And I believe it's in Infrastructure. Part Infrastructure. I'm going to go to the Display tab. Okay, here is the size for the axis. I think it also changes the size of the planes. So I'm in Infrastructure. So again, Tools, Options, Infrastructure, Part Infrastructure, Display tab, and I'm going to increase this. Let me go to 40, see what happens. Keep your fingers crossed, and in 3, 2, 1, okay. There it is, my planes are larger, so it will also increase the size of your axis. Got lucky, had forgotten how to do that, but there it is. Okay, let's go back. I'm going to double click on that same, oh, you know what? I should have kept that plane separate. Should have it drop in the new Geoset. So now it's here at the bottom. There's the new plane we just created that we rotated 90 degrees, normal from the existing one. Okay, so let me collapse this. Okay, so this, as you can see, this new plane fell into this Geoset, but I want to keep it separate from the others, right? this is not part of this set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left mouse click, hold, and drag it. And instead of sitting in this Geoset, I want it in the new Geoset. There it is. Okay, so it's not part of that set, but it is part of the larger Geoset. Okay, there it is. Okay, and if you wanted to create multiple planes off of this one that we just created, you can double click and we can say repeat. If you click repeat and hit OK, it'll pop up with another window. Hey, how many do you want? Let's go with, let's go with something small. Let's go with 6. And in 3, 2, 1, do you want a new Geoset? Yes, I do. And OK. That's not what I was looking for. Where is it? Oh, since it was 90 degrees, they're just overlapping. So I need to change the angle. So I did create the extra, I think it was 8 of them or 6. So I need to change the angle. Since they're all rotating 90 degrees, some of them are all overlapping each other. Okay, so let me go ahead and change the angle. Double click on angle here. Or I can go back and double click to go back to the command. And let's change the angle. Let me go with something small like 15 degrees. It's a good number. 3, 2, 1, okay. And now there they are, okay. Ta-da! It's magic. Okay, you can choose to also drag this original plane into the new Geoset. I'm not going to label it for time. I'll just leave it alone. Okay, good looking group of angled planes. All right, let's move on. Okay, so we just did that. If you want to use a different angle, go for it. Different quantity. Okay, so through 3 points, I use this quite a bit. I want a plane defined by 3 points. The 3 points cannot be collinear. Okay, so these 3 points cannot be on the same imaginary line. Okay, these 3 points cannot be collinear. Okay, so they're asking us to use this point, that point, and a third point here. Okay, let's see if I can find those points. If you don't see the points, they may be in the background and we may need to turn them on. Okay, so I don't see those 3 points they're referring to, but maybe they're in the background. Yep, there they are. They're in the background. Teacher, I don't see the points. They are here in the background. There they are, and they're hidden. Okay, so if you didn't find the points, you can always use existing endpoints. So notice here are the points. They're hidden. Okay, so I'm going to just right click on the Geoset, go all the way down and say, hey, eyeball, show me all the components in this Geoset. See the eyeball? This is to close, or I should say hide every single component in this Geoset. Okay, so let's go to show. In 3, 2, 1, show. I still don't see them. They're in the background. Oh, they are there. Actually, they're there. Let me turn off some of these multiple planes. I'm going to hide the multiple Geoset planes. Oh, my mistake. I meant to hide and hide the other set. So these points were used to create these splines or these curves. So these were the wrong points. Let's open up the next Geoset and the next one. Right click, show me everything. Right click, go to the eyeball. Okay, there's more geometry there. So this is some of the supporting geometry. All right, so this is getting complicated. So let's just pick any 3 points. All right, so we're going to create a plane using 3 points. So it cannot be on the same line. Okay, so I'm going to pick these 3 points to create my new plane. I'm going to hide these just to avoid confusion. Right click hide. Okay, so as long as the 3 points are not along the same line, 2 can be on the same line. Obviously 2 points create a line. All right, so as long as the 3 are not on the same line, they're not collinear. Okay, so let's create a plane. And I'm going to pick this point, so again, make sure it's 3 points, right? That point and our third point, and there it is. It's already generating a preview of that plane. Again, I chose these 3 points. If you want to choose 3 others, go for it. Okay, and there it is. So as you can see, all 3 points are on the same plane. And again, the 3 points are not collinear. They're not on the same imaginary line. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Through 2 lines. This is also a common one. Okay, so you can define a plane using 2 lines. I think I probably use this the most. Okay, so we're going to create another plane. So let's hide this one. Okay, let's see if I can create it with respect to, so let me hide some of this stuff. Okay, so I hid the second geoset. All right, let me hide this plane. All right, so I'm going to pick these 2 straight lines to create my new plane. So let me deselect by clicking in space. Okay, use plane command through 2 lines. Let me see if it allows me to pick this line and this line. And there it is. Now, even though it's not crossing the second line, it is parallel. Okay, so the plane is intersecting this line. It's not intersecting the second line, but it is oriented with respect to the second line as far as the angle, right? They're both parallel. Okay. And okay. I'm going to go ahead and hide it. And I'll hide this one. All right, so let's go on to the next one. I know I'm going pretty fast on this. So I want you to get the feel for how to use this command, and you can always go back and play with it. Okay, so plane, this time, not 2 lines, but this time a point and a line. So let's define a plane through a point and a line. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so I'm going to use this line, and I'm going to use that point. So we're going to define, if you want to use a different point, go for it, a different line. Okay, so let me click in space to deselect, go to plane command, point and line. Actually do use this quite a bit through point and line. It's asking me for the point first, so I wanted to go through this point and through this line, and as you can see, it intersects through this line and that point. It's almost similar to 3 points. The 3 points option, right? It's basically the same because you are using the endpoints of the line and this point to locate your plane. You can always use the move. You can see it intersects the line, and it also intersects the point that we chose. Okay, and okay. Okay, so that's point and line to define your plane. And again, a plane goes on forever. All right, so let's go back. Okay, so through planar curve. So this curve has to be flat, right? Imagine drawing a curve on a piece of paper. Okay, it cannot curve off the paper, right? The only way it'll curve off the paper is if you actually twist the paper, right? So imagine this is a flat piece of paper. Okay, so through planar curve. Okay, so let me hide this. Okay, so see how this curve is planar, meaning every single point on this curve, they can all lie on the same plane, right? Okay, so let's put a plane through this planar curve. Okay, so let's go plane. And we're going to pick the planar curve option. And pick the curve. And there it is, right? So all the points on this curve lies on that plane. If the curve started twisting in a different direction, let's say it started going in the x direction, then it would reject it. It would say, hey, this curve is not planar. Right? So there it is. And it does have to be curved. It will not work if it's a straight line. At least I believe it doesn't work for a straight line for the planar curve option. Okay, let's go ahead and hide this. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, normal to curve. Another one that I use quite a bit. So you want to go normal to an existing curve or line. The default position is the midpoint. Okay, so let's go normal to an existing curve. Let's try this one first. So it always defaults to the midpoint as far as the location. So it'll go perpendicular or normal to the curves. So once again, let me click and space to deselect, or hit escape on the keyboard to deselect. So let's go normal to curve. Another one I use quite a bit. Pick your curve, and as you can see, it'll default to the midpoint. You can also use a ratio if you like. It'll go up to 1, right? 100%. You can also reverse, as you can see. Okay, so, and you can also pick a point. So if there was a point on this line, you can locate it with respect to a point. Okay, so I'm going to put a point, even though it's not part of this tutorial, I'll put a point here on the curve. I'll just guesstimate a location. So I'm going to put a point. So there's my point. Let me go ahead and give it some color. So I'm going to go back to this last plane we created, and we'll make it go through this point. Okay, so I'm going to go back, double click on the plane, and say, hey, we're going to keep you perpendicular to the line, but this time for location, let me turn off ratio. I'm going to go to point instead of midpoint, the default. I want you to go to this new point, and okay. And if that point ever moves, the plane will move with it. So if I double click on that point and move it, the plane will move with it. So you can see that's pretty cool. Keep in mind, if you're doing this, it's updating, right? So as that point moves, the plane is trying to keep up with it. Sometimes things like this may eat up a lot of memory. Okay, so good example is if you have a line coming off of that point and you're moving it back and forth, the line is also trying to keep up with the changes, so it may slow down your computer. And okay, there it is. So just to show you, I'm going to draw a line. It's not part of this tutorial. I'm going to put a line, point and direction off of that same point. And I'll go in the X direction. And I'll overextend it. So anything made it to, I should say, depending on that point, will move if that point moves. So the plane and the new line are dependent on the point. So if that point moves, so will its children. It'll move with it, right? Again, this can eat up a lot of memory, so careful because this may freeze you up. All right. Let's do, actually, I wanted to do another normal to curve before we move on to the next part. We can also go normal to a nonlinear curve, right? Let's do this one. Okay, so normal to curve. Yeah, it doesn't have to be linear. See, it can be curved. And it always goes to the midpoint. You can do the same at a point for it to go through, just like we did the previous one. Okay, so that's normal to curve, perpendicular. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Tangent surface. All right. Ooh, let's see, I don't remember this one. Let's take a look at it. Select tangent surface. Select the reference. Oh, okay, now I remember. And a point. Plane is displayed tangent to the surface at that specified point. Okay, so I'm going to deviate slightly from this tutorial, and then I'll come back and do it just like the tutorial. All right, so let's go back. So let's go to that existing surface. Oh, I hit the surface. Let me show the surface. There it is, the blue surface. So I'm going to put a plane on this corner, and it's going to be tangent to the surface. Okay, so let's go plane. And I'm going to go tangent to surface. Okay, I'm going to pick the surface. And I'm going to pick this point. And there it is. You can see it's laying on the surface. That's tangent to that surface at that point. Now, what if I chose a different point but kept the surface? Okay, let me hide this plane here. Let's say I chose one of these points. So I'm going to double click on it. Say, hey, instead of this corner on the surface, I'm going to pick a different point. Let's say I pick this one. See what happens? It's no longer tangent to the surface, but it will stay parallel. Okay, so even though the plane is no longer touching the surface, it will stay parallel. Except now it's crossing this point and not the vertex on the surface. Okay. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, equation. I rarely use this one, but you can also use an equation to define your plane. So here's a formula. AX plus BY plus CZ equals D. Okay, so D is your length, I think it's your constant, and you have your A, right? Your B and your C. Let's try it out. Let's use 0, 0, 1, 20 millimeters for D. And we need a point to locate it. Seems okay, so let's give it a try. I haven't used this in a while outside of class. I don't know if I've ever used it, maybe once or twice in the last 15 years outside of class. Okay, so let's use plane. So we're going to define our plane using an equation. Okay, so let's go ahead and type in some numbers. Let's try, I'm going to deviate slightly from, I'm going to try 5 for A, 10 for B. For C, I'll try 2. And for D, I'll leave it at 20. I'm going to select this point. Actually, let's see if I can get a preview. Actually, there it is. It's back here. There it is. I forgot how it actually defines it using this equation. I actually forgot. Okay, let's see if I can move it in a different location. Preview, there it is. So it actually controls the location and the orientation. Preview, there it is. Yes. D. Preview, there it is. So it controls the location and orientation. Let's see if I can pick a point. I'll pick the corner of the surface. Oh, see, because I forgot to lock it, it thinks I want to go through 2 lines. Like, let me go back to equation. So in order for me not to drop out of equation, I can always lock it so it doesn't leave this option. See if I can pick this corner. So it's with respect to this corner, you can orient it, right? Change the angle. Preview. So it changes the angle, the orientation. Okay, pretty cool. And okay. Okay, you can also go normal to compass. Okay, so that's your axis. I'll skip that portion. Okay, mean through points. This one I do use once in a while. Okay, so sometimes you have a bunch of points in space and you want a plane that fits through those points. It does a best fit. That's what it's doing. The points may not be on the same plane or planar, imaginary planar surface, but it'll take an average of those points and generate a plane. Typically, it's something I think we do when we scan a surface. So you scan a clay model of of a car, for example, or you scan an existing piece on an airplane and you want to reverse engineer it, right? All right, so let's go back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the four corners of the surface, and I'm going to pick some points out here and see what we get. Let me hide this one. Okay, so we're going to use plane command again. And I'm going to go through mean through point. So it takes the average. So it does a best fit. Okay, so I'm going to pick these 4 points, or corners, or vertices. It's already giving me an average, right? But I can keep going. Now, since I picked 4 points that are on the same surface, obviously it's going to be parallel or tangent to the surface. But what happens when I start clicking other points that are not on the same surface? Let's see what happens to the plane now. See, so now it's trying to take an average. See that? So now the plane is trying to orient itself so it tries to find the best fit with respect to the points we pick. So if we pick another one, 3, 2, 1, pick. So it's trying to fit every single point we're picking, and it's trying to do a best fit. It's trying to average itself out, and that's the result. It's not going through these points, but it's trying to do a best fit. Okay. All right, let's take a look at, I think that's where we're going to stop. All right, so that's where we're going to stop on this one. Okay, so don't forget to save your work. Now, if you want to show me all the planes that you worked on, hey teacher, I hid my planes. Let's go back. You know, I hid all these planes. Instead of turning them on a group at a time or one at a time, is there a way I can turn on all my planes in one shot? Yes, there is. If you go to Tools, and let's go to, is it View? Show, there it is. So go to Tools, Show. Hey, I want you to show me all the planes. 3, 2, 1. Show me all planes. Oh, there it is. Oh, the Geoset is turned off. So I gotta, even though we said show all planes, the Geoset is hidden. So let me go to Show. There they are. Same thing with this one. Now we can see all planes. So not only with planes, you can do it with other elements. We go to Tools, Show me all points, show me all lines, and it'll turn them all on unless the Geoset is hidden. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save my work. File, Save As, and I'll save it in my folder, not the Downloads folder. So I'll save it in the folder on my desktop if you want to save it in your flash drive. So here's my wireframe folder. So this is the planes. And I'll put my initials at the end. And save. Again, there's no due date. See you in the next video.